Alright, I should record this video before I get too fucked up. So, I fell asleep on the train and I was gonna go to Portland State. I fell asleep and next thing I knew I woke up in North Portland and it's like, okay, I guess we'll go with the flow. And I got off the train, it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna get drunk. Except the Fred Meyer up there, I've stolen from often, and they've started like pick up resistance, blah 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 blah. And I'm walking up there. I'm gonna hide my backpack in the bushes because that makes me less homeless looking. But then there's also there's a homeless person that lives in that area that I had an interaction with, and actually like interaction I didn't like, and I've gone back to like say sorry, and they weren't there. So anyway, this time the tent's back, and I'm like, fuck, they're there. I better like do what I was gonna do, like, because the last time I bought them some food and like went back to say sorry, and they weren't there. I was like, fuck. And so it's like I better get the food again, and like go apologize, blah blah blah. So all kinds of things going through my head, and I get to the Fred Meyer. It's like I'm gonna steal some beer with the White Claws, and sitting outside is a dude who's asking for money, and he asks me, we talk briefly, and it gets down to the point where he's like, okay, can you just give me like a travel size deodorant, like a Dove, this or that? And I was like, yeah, bro, I'll see if it happens to fall in my pocket. It's one of those things. Because if people ask me for shit outside the stores, like, I'll get you. Because especially when I'm in there thieving, I don't know, it's my way of justifying it. If I could get for them too, it's like Robin Hooding a little bit. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't blame them for not breaking the law. They're doing what they're supposed to according to society, and that people are helping them. And like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, like, they do what I want, that like, people aren't helping me either. It's like, what do these fucking people want from us? Anyway. And a lot of people aren't in the shape that I'm in as far as like my ability to not look homeless or get in people's minds or let me do whatever I want, so I realize they don't have the privilege. So anyway, I walk into the Fred Meyer, and at the door, security is checking receipts as people leave, like Costco kind of shit. So I was like, okay, this changes the dynamic. And I go in, first thing I do is swipe him some deodorant, throw it in my pocket. And my plan was to just get beer and walk out. But with them checking receipts, I can't do that. And so I have like under $2 on my food stamp card. I don't know how much. So I grab a box of Reese's. They're $1.25. I buy those, get a receipt. I have 37 cents left on my food stamp card. I exit the Fred Meyer. As I do, the security guard looks at me, looks at my receipt, looks at my Reese's, and like gives me this look like, pfft. It's like, fuck you, don't judge me. It's like, that's the kind of shit, like, and he's subjecting everybody to that as they walk out, like, oh, okay, this and that. And all that does is instill, like, the people that are doing the right things, it makes them mad because they got to go through that, and it makes them hate the people that are the cause of that. And it's just this whole thing to plant in the seeds of, like, divisiveness. And anyway, I don't want to talk about, anyway. So I walk around the block, and I get up to that, I have the Reese's. I give the deodorant to the dude outside. I slip it to him real sly, like, hey, you look like a sandalwood and orange guy to me. Give it to him. He's like, thanks, bro. And then he's a black guy. I got to mention this for the story. So I go around to the back where that tent was, and it turns out it's not the same dude. There's a black dude. Well, I get to talk to this guy because I realize it's not him, and so I don't talk to him. But he asked me, he's like, you got any cleans? And I'm like, what is that? It's like needles and blood. We get into whole. Well, it turns out it was his uncle. And I'm like, well, the OG out here, like, him and I kind of got into it. And he's like, yeah, he's stubborn. And we were going through it. And he's like, people hate on us because of the mess. And I was like, well, that's the thing, bro. That's why I freaked out at him because I was trying to talk to him. And he fucking littered right in front of me. I'm like, hey, bro, maybe people wouldn't be slashing up your tent if you weren't throwing trash on the ground. You think of that? And he wouldn't listen to me. So I was like, fuck you then. And he wouldn't tell me his name, and I like freaked out on him and told him like, well, you better figure out a fucking name so I can put it on your tombstone, you stupid piece of shit. And it kind of made him smirk, but that was Juneteenth too. It was the 19th of June, and walking away from that, I felt bad, like, call this black dude who's trying to live on the street a piece of shit on Juneteenth. Not really in the spirit of things, but the fact that like I'm still trying to see the color within it, like that's not in the spirit of it either. And the fact that we have to have a day for like a color, Like, that's not in the spirit of it either, and I don't know why I'm insane. But anyway, I was talking to his nephew, and him and I were cool. And I'm like, hey, man, like, I just came to say I'm sorry because it was fucked up, and I was having a thing. And I gave him the Reese's and told him, like, tell your uncle I'm sorry, man. And if I see him, I'm going to kick his ass. So I left that Fred Meyer, went to another one, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to steal from this one. This one's down at, like, Peninsula Fred Meyer. This is by, like, University of Portland, where I used to live. I go into this Fred Meyer. It's a couple miles away after I walk there. And they're checking receipts, too. So it's like, okay, this one's not going to work. So I pass through the store. They're checking receipts. Because at this point now, I have the receipt from the first Fred Meyer. And I was going to grab the alcohol, walk out with it, and hold the receipt in my hand. Because sometimes that's like, you know, if people don't want to... the clerks don't want to fuck with somebody that's like 6'5", that looks like he's stealing. It might kick their ass. So if I have anything to like, be like, what? He had a receipt. What was I supposed to do? It's like, get him off the hook. You know, let them... You're not trying to dunk on everybody. But anyway, that Fred Meyer didn't work out. So I walked further down to St. John's, the pretentious capital of the world, where I belong. That's where I am now. And went to the Safeway. And when I got in the Safeway, it was one of those things where it's like, everybody's aware, like, it's like this whole fucking thing, and the White Claw's kicking it down, kind of drunk, but I did some little trickery with the bathroom and talked to some people where blah, 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 and then I get the White Claws and just walk out with the receipt. But the idea, in my head at least, is like, if you're thinking of karma-wise, like, I went to the other Fred Meyers, and I did what I was supposed to do, sort of. I stole a little bit for the dude outside, went behind the store, actually purchased something with legitimate money, and tried to make right, like, another thing, and, like, healed that, and then went to a place where it wasn't going to be smooth, and instead of, like, going against the grain and, like, fuck with people, just moved on, and then went, you know, you just go with the flow, like, the path of least resistance as far as that, because within that, like, they're watching me. I mean, they know who I am, but I told somebody that, it's like, you know, I know I'm sneaky, but I'm not that fucking sneaky. I don't know. It's just weird, the dance that takes place. Because then, you know, I go into that Safeway to just walk out with the 12-pack, and it's so synchronistic as far as, like, yes, go, 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 go. Where the other places, there's so many, like, no, 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 swiper, no. And you just got to respect that. There was times in California where I'd read it that where it's no, 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 swipe, and I'd fuck with them, like, go to other sections and, like, pick out, like, sausages, and, like, ooh, I'm going to steal this. Like, some people would be like, Jacob. And I'd be, like, fucking with them. Like, I know I'm not going to, I'm fucking with you. I forgot what I'm doing here. Found some weed. I wasn't going to go to this park. I'm sitting at this bench. I sat down on this bench, like, well, maybe I'll just sit down at Forrest Gump. And they're like, well, Forrest, this isn't a bus stop, you know? It's like, well, they said the bus would come to me, you know, and I was just sitting here. And... Anyway, there's something I need to show you. It's my heart beats for you. Oh, that's the wrong side. There, my heart's on this side. See it? You see it beating? Hold on. It can beat however quickly, or they can both beat if you want at the same time. I don't need to...